All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are winding down, at least the prosecution is winding down their case, and so we're winding down the trial overall in the next day or so. We do have Detective Carranza back on the stand. People versus Pursehouse. Alternate number, the Italian trip, number 2? Yes. I understand you want to take up the court's offer and be dismissed at this point. Is that correct? All right. And, I could have had my bailiff dismiss you outside, but I personally want to bring you in just to thank you for your sacrifice to be here in your service. All of you, I should thank all of you. But since you're leaving today, we're all very thankful to the attorneys and the court. Thank you for your service, and I hope you have a nice and safe trip to Italy. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye now.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes. You really mean that? Do you really? Thank you, ma'am.
Should we say goodbye in Italian, Your Honor?
Ciao, right? Ciao. Yeah. Ciao. Mr. Avila.
Yes, Your Honor, what's with the court's permission, what's the next?
Next one's 133.
Right, and I'll go back to playing the recording in a minute, but People's 133 is a series of text messages, pages A through H. Detective Carranza, looking at the Cellbrite reports related to conversations between Gareth and Dr. Amie Harwick's phone, correct?
Yes.
Now, you had Dr. Harwick's phone. Were you able to see if she kept those actual text messages in her phone?
The messages are on the Cellbrite, which means they're in the phone, because the Cellbrite's a download of her actual physical cell phone.
But were there actual text messages on her phone?
Yes.
Okay, looking here at People's 133A, is this a copy of those text messages from her actual phone?
Yes.
And so I'm not going to go through all of them, but for example, on the left side in gray, that would be text messages represented by Gareth. I interneted your number, recognize it now that I see it, if I'm allowed to text, and so on.
Yes.
And I'm just going to go through these pages quickly. 1B is also a representation of those text messages we already went through with the jury from People's Exhibit number 131. C, is that the same thing?
Yes.
And the middle one here, is this the one where at the end she ends it with, and move forward with our lives?
With our own lives, yes.
Yes, thank you. And page D, that's also a physical text message that's also represented in the Cellbrite report. E, same thing?
Yes.
And F is also a same. Actually, F is a repetition. Let me see. Oh, you know what F is? Is a clear of 133A. So F is just a clear copy of 133A. Is that correct? A?
Yes.
And so is H. It's a clear copy of the previous page we identified where the text was, and move forward with our own lives.
Yes.
On her cell phone, were you able to also extract any Nest camera videos?
Yes, we were able to.
Okay, about how many Nest camera videos were on her actual cell phone?
About 75 Nest video clips. Some are 2 seconds in duration, which were like motion activated. And there was a couple that were a little bit longer, maybe a minute. There were some females that were in her residence walking around talking about the decorations.
And looking at all the Nest video, what was the time of the last Nest video on her cell phone?
The last recorded Nest clip that I found on the Cellbrite was on February 14th, 2020 at 6:41 p.m. And it was a motion activation by a spider web that happened to be in front of the Nest camera which is inside her living room area.
So there are no Nest videos.
Calling for speculation that it's a spider web that triggered.
Okay, there was you can see a spider web in front of the camera, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can't say whether indeed it triggered it. You're suspecting it did, right?
Well, I believe it triggered it, Your Honor.
Okay,
I
yeah.
reviewed, there's actually several clips from that same spider web that activate the camera. if you
Well,
watch it.
Well, perhaps, but you can't say conclusively that it did. It appears to be.
Your
It
Honor,
appears to be, yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a DVD with
Motion to
that
strike, Your Honor.
Hold on.
with that particular video clip.
I've seen a spider web on front.
But this is that was from, I believe, a different occasion. This is the last video clip from the Dr. Amie Harwick's actual cell phone.
Okay, and it may well be that a spider web appears, or a spider, or what have you. We can't conclusively state that it.
No.
That's the objection. It's and I will strike it. Go ahead.
Right. The video is what it is, so
Yeah,
I'm just going to play
sure.
it.
Go ahead.
We can play one more time. How long is the video clip?
It's about 2 seconds. These short motion-activated clips are about 2 seconds in length.
Okay, and what's shown on this People's 134, is that what you were describing?
Yes.
And is this the last Nest camera video on Dr. Amie Harwick's cell phone?
Yes, it is.
And this was on Valentine's Day at 6:41 p.m.
Yes, that's correct.
I'm sorry?
Did you mark that as 134?
134?
Is that what it was?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
So there are no Nest camera video clips after that one?
No.
No. And did you also, on her cell phone, did you find any voicemail messages from defendant Gareth Pursehouse?
Yes.
You want to have a CD that we've already marked as People's 132. I have a transcript,
All right.
132A. May I publish the one-page transcript to the jury?
Yep.
I have so much I need to say.
Okay. I don't think everyone had one yet.
Sorry, Your Honor.
It's a,
I missed it.
okay. I think everyone has one now.
I think everyone does. So is this video, is this audio clip dated January 18, 2020 at about 16:26?
Yes.
Well, actually, what's the time? Do you know what the time was for this recording?
No, I can't recall the time recording this made on her film.
We have just one moment.
Yes.
Well, let me play the recording and then we'll address that. But it's January 18, 2020.
That's correct.
I have so much I need to say. Please give me a chance to just say it. Situation is good. Please.
Is that call at about 4:26 p.m.?
Yes.
And is that the extent of it?
Yes.
Do you see any more text messages on Amy's phone from defendant Gareth Pursehouse?
No.
Do you see any voicemail messages that he's able to leave after that voicemail message?
No.
Now, you also obtained the defendant's phone after he was arrested on February 15, 2020.
Yes.
And was that booked into evidence as property item number 54 for this case, 2006-06-220?
Yes, it was.
Looking here at two photographs, but it's marked People's next in order. People's number 135,
Yes.
A and B.
Yes.
Looking at People's 135, can you tell?
It's a evidence envelope with the Mr. Pursehouse's cell phone next to it. As you can see by the envelope, it has my name and the reporting booking property and cell phone item number 54, the case number we've been talking about in the testimony in this case.
Looking at 135B, what is shown here?
That's the rear of the cell phone, the same evidence envelope.
And early on, were you able to do a download of the data from that cell phone?
Yes, the download was done on that phone.
And were you able to download the data on or about March 20th, 2020, and make copies so both the people in the defense could have a copy of that data?
Yes.
And were you able to look at the data on that phone?
Yes, I was.
And did you use the same process, the Celebrite, where you download Celebrite report is generated?
Yes.
Looking here at people's next in order, it's a photograph showing what a Cellbrite options are. A screenshot of a Cellbrite reader. Did you see my people's next in order?
136.
136. By the way, how familiar are you with the Cellbrite program?
Very familiar, having gone through numerous phones in my career in the last few years of being made aware of this technology and other cases that I've used. Very familiar with using this format. Very, very user friendly, and it makes things a lot simpler when dealing with a cell phone download.
Can you tell us, looking at this exhibit, what is shown here on, see, the left part?
So the left part, if I'm going to use a pointer,
Yes.
the left part will have the categories of the download. As you go down the download, you'll see what's on the physical phone. Like for instance here, applications 3, audio, there's 2,765 audio files, and that corresponds to the number of the item, like 6 documents. There's over 10,000 images on this download from the cell phone, 1,222 text documents, and 5 videos. So this makes it easier for the user to
I'm
go...
sorry, can you go back to where you were saying the
Sorry about
videos?
that.
No, that's okay, the numbers are just busy.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah.
This makes it easier for us to go into different categories of the Celebrite to view what we're looking at. And it even has a timeline on here also that has 181, it captured 181 timeline events. And this is the format of the Celebrite. And it has the extraction date and time. And
See?
and also over here, it's the same thing as the right column. It'll have the same numbers. And pretty much we will click on that item and then it'll open up, for instance, if I click on the image folder here, it'll open up the image in the thumbnail view so I can go through each image to see what they are. The same thing for the audio files or documents or video files, which are only 5 on this phone.
Right. And now where it says text, what does that mean?
That's a text document. When I opened that up, it was encoded text files. It's not like a text message, but a document that was created on this phone or saved to this phone, and it's encoded with different numbers.
Were you able to find any text messages on this phone?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Oh.
Okay.
No text messages were saved on this phone.
How about contacts?
No contact list was saved on this phone.
How about call logs?
No call log, and a call log is simply a phone calls you made while using the phone, and you'll have date on the Celebrite.
And looking at people 68, a text message from that was a text message chain between text messages.
No.
Looking at people's exhibit number 58. Masha Polson, did you find any of those texts? You've heard discussion about the urine swab, property item number 34, correct?
Yes.
At some point, were you requested to have that,
Yes.
and was that done sometime? And on June 29th, 2023, did you take, and where did you take it to?
Within LAPD, we have various different from that location over to the Hertzberg Davis Forensic Science Center, which is a sheriff's department. And I booked that into sheriff's evidence because the sheriff's department was going to test.
And then did they communicate the results to you?
Yes.
And the DNA results, were those also communicated to you after you requested DNA analysis?
There was no DNA requested on the urine swab.
No, I'm talking about the other swabs.
Yes.
Okay.
By LAPD, not the sheriff's. So.
Yes. Thank you. Lastly, I have a map showing two locations, 2086 Mount Street and 8148 Cabora Street. We just mark people's necks in order.
137.
137. Does this map show the general location or the approximate location of 2086 Mount Street at the very top right corner?
Yes.
And that's in Hollywood Hills, correct?
Yes.
The approximate location of 8148 Cabora Street, defendant Purshouse's residence back on February 15, 2020.
Cabora Drive.
Cabora Drive, I'm sorry. Actually, let me just... There's a paralegal that's going to be fired. Okay. Drive, I'm kidding. No. Distance between those two locations.
About 16 miles.
I have nothing further on.
Cross-examination.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon.
So, talking about the Cellbrite exhibit here. Looking at this, do you know what type of extraction was done on the cell phone to get this extraction summary?
The type of extraction?
Yes.
No, I don't know the type of extraction used by our forensic people.
So
I just know that what happens is...
I know, I'm just asking if you know the type of extraction.
No, I don't.
Okay, and do you know who did the extraction on this phone?
It was, I believe, Orange County Regional Crime Lab. I believe did the extraction of Mr. Purshouse's phone.
And what is that crime lab?
The Orange County Crime Lab is a crime lab that's run by the FBI that has local jurisdictions within Orange County, like Santa Ana Police Department, Irvine Lab, and their job is to and other items that we take to them.
So do you often take cell phones to them?
I have now, as of the past 2 years, I started using them strictly.
Okay, and so when did you take item 54, the cell phone that came from Gareth Pursehouse? When did you take that one to the Orange County Regional Crime Lab?
I signed the phone out of my property and I gave it to Detective Lamberti to take down there. And he took that in November of 2021. He took that cell phone down there for an extraction by Orange County Crime Lab.
And you also took Amie Harwick's phone. That's item...
You know what? I need to correct myself. I'm sorry, ma'am. You asked me about Mr. Pursehouse's phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was done back in 2020. Okay.
Could you look at your chrono if you need to refresh your recollection as to the exact date?
Sure.
Do you have that with you?
Yeah, I have to grab my giant binder there. I'll
Can I
grab it. With the court's permission.
Yes.
three giant binders with thousands of pages.
I can relate.
If I may review my book, Your Honor, to get the exact date, with your permission.
Your Honor, can you refresh?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. It's not in my chrono, but the report, the Sulfur report, was generated on February 18th, I believe, 2020, from my recollection.
So you're
It's actually, when you look at the Cellbrite map, it has a date. The report was created by Detective Lemberti, right on that exhibit that Mr. Aguilar
okay. So you're talking about this date here.
Yes.
Do you want to point to it with your pointer?
Yes. It'll be this date right here where this was created, this Cellbrite, from the extraction. They're all files that are downloaded from the phone, are put into the Cellbrite, and creates this report. And that report was created on February 18th, 2020.
Okay, so the phone then would have had to go to this Orange County Forensic Lab prior to that date in order to get the report you just pointed to, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then Amie Harwick's phone, did that also go to the same lab?
No, they did not.
Which lab did that phone go to?
That phone went to Officer Scott Tubert, who is who works on the cell phones down in South Bureau Homicide. And that was taken on February 27th, I believe.
February 27th,
2020.
2020. And were they able to do an extraction at that time?
No, they're not.
At some point, did you take Amie Harwick's phone to the Orange County lab for extraction?
Yes, I did. Or actually, Detective Lamberti took it for me.
Okay. And do you know when that was?
That was in November 2021.
Would that be November 16th, 2021?
That's correct, yes.
And that was after the preliminary hearing in this case?
Yes.
And that was after you presented your case for filing to the district attorney's office?
Yes.
When did you receive a partial download from Amie Harwick's cell phone?
The partial download was consisted of 144 gigabytes. We received in February of 2022.
Would that be February 10th, 2022?
Yes, ma'am. And the partial is just not a complete download of the phone, just a partial.
So that was about 3 months after the phone was submitted to this Orange County lab, you received a partial download.
Yes.
Okay, and then you received a complete download after they were able to unload 2022?
Yes. In December, we picked up the phone and the raw files that were downloaded from the cell phone from Orange.
Acquired the full download in December of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were doing your Cellbrite reports, did you do a report on web history for Amie Harwick's phone?
I can't recall if I did or not.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at a report?
Sure, definitely.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, of course.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes.
And this web history shows searches for Gareth Pursehouse by Amie Harwick. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you note that there was a search for Gareth Pursehouse made on October 26, 2019?
I have to review that.
May I approach?
Yes.
Yes.
So there is in Amie Harwick's phone there was a web history showing she searched for Gareth Pursehouse Google search on October 26, 2019.
Yes.
I'd like to talk about some photos that you took along with Detective Masterson at 2086 Mound Street. I have two photos. May they be marked defense next in order, Your Honor?
E cubed and E cubed A and what?
B.
B. Okay.
Thank you. Showing you what's been marked as E cubed A. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes.
And does it show a measurement, a tape measure going along the railing, the bottom of the railing on the edge of the balcony located at 2086 Mound Street?
Yes.
And what side of the balcony is this photo taken on?
I would describe it as the north side of the property, the side away from 2080 Mound.
Okay. And that doormat that you can see in the photograph, would that be the doormat outside the door that leads to Michael Herman's living area?
Yes.
And showing you triple EB. Is this another photograph showing the opposite corner? I guess it would be the south corner of the same balcony.
Yes.
And Miss Mercy Love, I misspoke. It should be E cubed 1 and 2, as opposed to
1
A
and
and B
2.
again. Okay.
I think I misspoke.
Okay.
I have another photograph I'd like to mark. Triple F.
All right.
I'm showing you, it's been marked defense triple F. Do you recognize the balcony and that tree as an accurate representation of the location on February 15th, 2020?
Yes.
Have you been back to that property? Did you go with Mr. Mendoza when he did the drone footage?
Yes, I was outside on Mound Street just waiting for him. I was in my vehicle on the street waiting.
All right.
I
Did
didn't
you?
actually go onto the property.
Okay. And finally, Your Honor, I have a series of 7 photographs. They be marked triple G.
Well, 1 through 7. Right? We're numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I misspoke
Okay.
the first
Yeah,
time.
okay. I'm
Yeah.
getting mixed up.
Yeah.
1 through 7. Maybe 1 through 3.
Yes.
You had an opportunity to interview Michael Herman and take photographs of injuries he received on the date of February 15th, 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, our photographer took our TID division took photographs at Hollywood Station.
And you were present for that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm showing you triple B1. Is this a photograph of Michael Herman's right hand?
Yes.
And I'd like to show you triple B2.
G.
Triple
Are we at G or B?
Triple G,
G.
whatever.
Okay.
G. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes.
And then is this photo depicting a injury? On his wrist.
Pink scratch. That's what I see there.
Number 3. See, I'm going to zoom out the perspective. Is this another injury on his arm? Third injury?
Yeah, here's a scratch going across the forearm.
Showing you triple G4. This documenting another injury on his arm.
Yes.
Triple G5. This is another injury to the back of Mr. Herman's arm.
Yes.
Triple G6. This is an injury showing, I guess they're focusing on the injury with the ruler underneath it. It's kind of a 7-shaped injury.
Yeah, there's 2 of them right there. The same.
Yeah. And then there's one to the side.
Yes.
Triple G7. This will be the last one.
Right.
So if I said 8, I was mistaken. And there's a smaller injury
Yes.
depicted here.
Yes.
Thank you. I have one last photograph, Your Honor.
Right. Triple
This is
H?
Triple H.
Yes.
Showing what's been marked as defense Triple H. Is this 2086 Mound Street on February 15th, 2020?
Yes, it is.
And this van, do you know what department that's from?
That's the one belonging to our criminals.
And do the criminals use brown paper bags to collect evidence?
Excuse me, I didn't hear what you say.
Do your criminals use brown paper bags to collect evidence?
Among saying other things, yes.
And does it appear one of the bags is located here?
it's just a bag. I can't, from this view, I can't tell what next to the recycling bin, or that's just a bag there. I don't know what it is.
Okay, so, but you do see the criminals van,
Yes.
and they're the ones who collect the evidence, correct?
In this case, yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any redirect?
Why were you not able to extract data from Dr. Harwick's phone right away?
Dr. Harwick had a password on his cell phone, which was an iPhone 8 Plus, and we didn't have the access password to get into it.
So what did you have to do to get into that phone that was password protected?
When I resubmitted the phone, November 2021, the forensic lab had to attach a break key program to pretty much locate the passcode and break the phone open.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything based on that question?
Just briefly. And you waited until November 16th, 2021 to ask for the phone to be forcibly extracted. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Further.
Anything?
I would just ask to reopen on another
Go ahead.
subject.
I object.
Objection is noted.
In her cell phone, could you also look into her Gmail account?
Yes.
And in her Gmail account, were you able to find an email she had written to herself?
Yes.
And looking here at a 2-page exhibit, it's Gmail. May this mark as people's 138?
Yes.
138. I'm not going to go through the email with you, but do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
And looking at page 2, is that without the redact? Obviously, this has been redacted, but are these 2 pages with a Gmail with the letter GP as a title, date of Friday, January 17, 2020 at 3:09 a.m. Email of Amie Nicole 13@gmail.com. We're able to find that in the Celebrate download under her Gmail account.
Yes.
And did it have the same date as January 17, 2020?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Anything based on that?
No.
All right, you may step down,
Thank you, Your Honor.
people.
People call Robert Koshland to the stand.
All right.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you're about to give and the cause now pending before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Please state and spell both your first and last name.
Robert Koshland, ROBERT COSHLAND.
All right, counsel.
Looking at photograph 10B, do you recognize who's depicted on that photograph?
Yes, I do.
And who is that?
That is Amie Harwick.
And what was Amie Harwick to you back in 2020?
Amie was my best friend.
And when you say your best friend, how long had you known her?
I met her in 2012 and we became friends in 2015.
And when you say she was your best friend, what does that mean?
I talked to her every day. I pretty much told her everything. We texted every day. and I saw her often once a week, sometimes as many as 4 times a week.
Was she someone important in your life?
Very much so.
Obviously, you know about her death on February 15th, 2020.
Yes.
When was the last time you saw her before that date?
I saw her several days before. I believe it was Tuesday, whatever the date that was. We went to the movies.
Did you have a conversation with her on January 17th, 2020?
I had a conversation with her most days, so
Around January 17th, 2020, did she discuss an event that had occurred to her the day before?
yes.
What did she tell you in that regard?
She called me and told me that she had run into Gareth, and she was very concerned about the interaction. She told me that she saw him and he came over to her and was yelling at her and reciting texts from like 8 years ago. And
narrative, and also, of course, prior ruling regarding leaving the photo of Alma during the
Oh, okay, go ahead. Take that down. Sure.
You were saying that she was telling you what happened to her at this event on January 16, 2020, including that Gareth Pursehouse was reciting old text messages to her?
yes, and she told me that he hadn't moved on with his life and seemed to be very obsessed with her still, and that she was very worried about that interaction.
Did she indicate to you whether she was scared of Gareth Pursehouse?
Yes.
What did she tell you in that regard?
She said to me that if anything happens to me, it would be Gareth that did it.
And have you previously testified to that statement?
I have.
And after telling you that, did she try to take some kind of action so you would know where she would be at different points in time?
I suggested perhaps we share locations so I could see where she was at any given time, and she agreed, so we used the Find My Phone feature on iPhones.
And were you then able to track her phone wherever she moved?
Yes, it took a couple hours for us to figure out how it worked, but afterwards, yes.
Well, why did it take a couple hours to figure that out?
Objection foundation.
Oh, you can answer.
I hadn't used it before, and she hadn't used it before, so I don't know why, technically.
Okay. And is this happening on or about January 17th or 2020, or a few days after January 17th, 2020?
We had it sorted out in the afternoon of the 17th.
Did you and her discuss anything else as far as security at her home?
Yes, I suggested she buy a gun, and we talked about video cameras and a security alert system.
Okay, what did she, as far as the suggestion to get a gun, how did she respond to that?
She said maybe, but
She objected. Okay.
You said what?
she said maybe.
And you also suggested what else to her?
Getting a security system and cameras.
And do you know if she did that?
Yes, she did.
How do you know that?
Because we talked about it, and I referred an installer, and she bought the systems. I saw it.
Okay. Did she buy the Nest camera system?
Correct, that's what I had.
Were you the one that installed the system for her?
No,
Did you set the settings for her Nest camera app for her?
I did not.
When did you hear about the passing of Dr. Amie Harwick?
Objection relevant.
Oh, you can answer.
After I had gone to interview with Detectives Masterson and Carranza, they left the room for a bit, and they came back, and then they informed me. So it was the morning of the 15th. I don't know what time.
Would this be February 15, 2020 at around, well, was your interview with them on February 15, 2020 at the Hollywood station around 10 in the morning?
It was thereabouts.
And so they stepped out of the room and what happened?
Well, after the interview, they stepped out for a few moments and then, or minutes, and then came back and informed me.
What was your reaction to that?
Objection, relevant.
Sustained.
Did you tell them during that interview on who to focus on?
I did.
Relevant and hearsay.
Overruled. You can answer.
You can answer that.
I did.
Who did you tell them that they should focus on?
Objection, hearsay, relevant.
Overruled. Well, you told this to the police officers?
Yes.
Okay. You can answer.
Yes, I told them that they should focus on Gareth. I did not know his last name at the time.
And why did you tell them that?
Because of the conversations that she and I had had previously.
After Dr. Amie Harwick's passing, did you and your friends get together that day or a day after that?
Yes, that day and the next day.
And what was the purpose of getting together with friends of Amie Harwick?
To basically grieve together. The first day, I talked to a number of people, but we had to keep it from becoming public because her parents had not been informed yet, and we were waiting to hear that that had happened. So I just had people come over my house.
Did anyone say that you and Amy's friends were meeting to make sure how Amy's story would be told?
We talked about it, I think, on the second day.
What was the purpose of that?
Our concern was that she would be portrayed as just Drew Carey's fiancée, as opposed to the kind of super amazing person that she was. And we wanted to make sure that people knew how kind of interesting and cool she was.
On February 16, 2020, was there an interview with Sarah Rollins? Were you present for an interview with Sarah Rollins?
I was.
And why were you present during that interview?
Sarah was concerned about going to the police station by herself. She was at my house at the time when the request came in to interview her, so I went along.
Did you tell her what she should tell the detectives?
No.
Have you told did you ever talk to Michael Herman and tell him what to tell the detectives?
I've never told anyone specifically to tell anyone anything, but I've told people to talk to detectives if they know something.
Now, sometime later, did the detectives give you some journals or diaries from Amie Harwick?
Yes, day planners.
And did you do anything with those day planners?
Yes, I looked through them.
And did you find anything of interest in those day planners?
Yes. Most, if not all of them, had all of her passwords in the back, which I told her never to do. But
So you found some of her passwords.
yeah,
Did you find the password for her Gmail account?
I did.
And did you use that password to do anything?
Yes, I used it to look in her Gmail.
So how did you do that?
I just logged in for Gmail with her password and username.
So you already knew her Gmail account, her email account.
I think that was the email that she and I responded to. She had two, so
And is that amynicole13@gmail.com?
I looked in that one and also her other one, which was Dr. Amie Harwick.
And did you do this around March 9th, 2020?
Thereabouts.
And around that time, did you go into her Gmail account, amynicole13@gmail.com?
I did.
And did you find anything?
Yes, I found an email that she had written to herself regarding the incident at the ex-vis courts.
And did you read the email?
I did.
And did you later provide it to detectives?
Yes, I did.
Looking here at People's 138. I'm going to read this to you, see if this is the email. Is this what you read on the email? Tonight, I feel very, and this is dated January 17, 2020 at 3:09 a.m.
Yes.
Tonight, I felt very scared. I went to the award show with Fernando. When we arrived, we waited in a very long line to do the red carpet. We were waiting. I saw Gareth walk by with a camera. Clearly, he was working. I decided to ignore him and just not looking that direction. I thought maybe he would not notice me. Fernando went to the bar to get a drink, and I was waiting with his friend in line. Gareth came up behind me and started screaming, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" He looked dysregulated, and his eyes looked out of control. He started screaming, "You don't even like porn. You shouldn't be here. Why are you here?" And then he started looking like he was going to cry, and he was breathing heavily and flailing his arms around. I didn't want to make a scene or scare anybody else. So I said, "Hey, do you need to talk?" And we walked over to the side. We sat close by the bathrooms. I made sure to look and make sure they were both security people and a lot of attendees very close by. He was sobbing. His head was in his hands. He was hyperventilating. He was distorting his face up and shaking violently. I was scared and felt like I needed to neutralize the situation. I don't think he was going to attack me in that moment, but this clearly showed me how obsessed he was. He told me that he thinks about me every day, and every day he cries. He told me he lost his job when he broke up because he couldn't work. He told me that no matter what he did, he couldn't stop obsessing over me. He told me that I was a cheater and a liar because he thought we were still together when I believed that we were broken up. He recited text messages that I had sent from this time frame about 9 years ago. He recited the date, who they were to, and exactly what was said word for word. I couldn't believe it. I was very scared. He said he wasn't able to move on, but he's dated, but nobody with me. He said he thinks about me constantly, and he can't watch the TV shows that we watch together. Here are the songs that we like, are the names that we call each other, or even smell vanilla, or he has a panic attacks. I sat with him for about 20 minutes or so. In my mind, I wanted to neutralize the situation. I thought maybe if I could make him see me as a neutral person, that maybe these things would stop. He told me that Kira... Sorry.
I'm going to object to 352.
Okay, the court's going to grant it. That is the text that you saw?
That is the email I saw.
Okay, very good.
Well, in the email, well, I would ask permission to finish reading the email since it's in evidence.
No, well, it's already in evidence that she. It's no secret she wrote purportedly wrote an email to herself.
Throughout the rest of the email, does she indicate that she's scared?
Yes.
And does she indicate that she's scared of Gareth Pursehouse?
Yes, she does.
Does she state that I'm pretty nervous that I'm now more on his radar now?
Yes.
Objection. Same objection.
Oh, you can ask it that way.
Does she state that it terrifies me that he's been obsessed with me for 9 years, thinks about me every day and can't move on, cries and throws tantrums in this way?
Yes.
So she described his conduct as tantrums on her email.
Okay, it's 12 o'clock at this point, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and take lunch, if you would. The attorneys and the court met earlier this morning to iron out some things, all right? So have a good lunch. We'll see you back here. record in this matter. This is your last witness, isn't it?
There's one more.
Brief?
Very, yes.
Okay, go ahead and finish him off if you would. Or what is it? Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Conklin, you don't know what username Ms. Harwick would use on her phone?
On her phone?
Yes.
Or do you know?
I mean, it always said Amie Harwick. As far as
On your phone, it would say that.
Yes.
But you don't know when she...
You know, I object to this exhibit being posted and shown to the juror without making a record.
No, that's fine. You can ask him if he's familiar with it.
He hasn't asked the question.
Well, you know, I'm sure he's going to. Are you? You gonna ask it?
I'm going to ask the question.
Okay, go ahead.
You have not had access to her phone to see how she set up her phone.
No.
So you don't know when someone identifies their phone, they write a name there. You don't know what name she used.
No.
All right, you can take it down if you would come.
And the name Cat Dukes. Have you ever heard that name before?
Yes.
When have you heard that before?
Kat Dukes is a friend of mine. I've known her for over 20 years. And I introduced Amie to her, or introduced them a couple of years ago. I don't remember when. Because Kat went to the same school that Amie went to, and they graduated with the same degree.
Objection, relevance, narrative.
All right, well, I'll allow the answer to stand, and that's how he knows that individual. Okay, you move on.
And so you said the Cat Dukes you know went to school with Amie.
They went to the same school.
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
And since you were one of Amie's close friends, did you ever know her around 2020 to vape?
No.
To smoke nicotine products?
Never.
Now, after Amie Harwick's passing away, have you been interviewed by any news agencies?
Yes.
Okay, and have you allowed yourself to be interviewed?
Yes.
And why is that?
I thought it important to...
It's sustained, unless you can make an offer of proof, counsel.
It's other statements that he's discussed.
Let's approach. All right.
I have nothing further on.
No more questions?
No more questions.
Okay, Mr. Franzel.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Kaufman.
Hello.
So you were interviewed by Detectives Carranza and Masterson on February 15th, 2020.
Yes.
And you told them everything that you thought was significant.
Everything I thought of at the time, yes.
And when you were talking to them in that initial interview, you wanted to help them.
Of course.
So you didn't leave out anything that you thought might be important.
I told them whatever came to mind at the time.
And whatever came to mind at the time.
Correct.
Okay. And the goal was to give them everything that you thought might be relevant.
Objection asked and answered.
Have you reviewed that interview recently?
Yes.
Have you watched the video?
I have watched the video, yes.
And did you read the transcript?
Yes, I did.
Now, you were also present during the interview of Sarah Rollins.
Yes.
You also testified at the preliminary hearing on the 22nd of September 2021.
I did.
And prior to that, on the 17th of September, you met with Mr. Avila and another deputy district attorney in the Hall of Justice.
Yes, I believe so.
And they asked you questions about the case.
I don't know if they asked me questions about the case, but we reviewed previous testimony or previous interviews.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at notes taken from that meeting?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes. And the question was? Did you talk about the case? That's the question?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Once you've read it, look up.
Okay.
Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
And in that September 17th meeting at the Hall of Justice, you did talk about the case, right?
Yes.
In that interview with the deputy district attorneys and the detective was not recorded.
Not to my knowledge.
Last week, on the 15th of September, at 12:55 p.m., you met with Detective Carranza and Mr. Avila, also at the Hall of Justice.
I don't even remember the exact time, but I did meet with them.
And in that meeting, they also asked you questions about the case, right?
I don't recall them asking me new questions, so if there's notes, I could review them.
Would it refresh your recollection?
Yes, please.
May I approach?
Yes.
Once you've reviewed that, just look up, please.
Yes. Okay.
Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes,
sir?
it did.
And they did ask you questions about the case in that September 15th, 2023 meeting, right?
Yes.
And that interview was not recorded.
I do not believe so.
You and Miss Harwick were best friends.
She was my best friend, yes.
And so, obviously, you knew her extremely well.
Yes, I did.
And you had been to her house at 2086 Mound Street many times.
Many times.
And you'd been to her previous residences.
Yes.
You had a good sense of her habits.
Yes.
And leaving her bed unmade from the night before would have been a normal thing for her to do.
I don't really go in her bedroom that often, so I can't say. I didn't know her bed making habits, to be honest.
In your February 15th, 2020 interview, the detectives asked you this exact question, right?
Yes.
Do you recall that?
Yes.
And they specifically asked you whether or not it would have been normal. And do you recall answering that it would have been a normal thing in keeping with her personality to have left the bed unmade?
No, I don't remember saying that.
You never said that?
I don't remember saying that.
Okay. I have a clip that I'd like to mark defense next in order.
Yeah, triple I.
Well, the witness has said he doesn't remember
Right.
saying that.
And he's going to try to refresh his recollection
I see. Just
with that. Of that clip, I take it. Just that
Well,
extra.
it might be easier. Would it refresh your recollection to look at the transcript?
Probably would be easier that way.
Sure.
What page?
This is page. 1 second. 17. Oh, it actually starts on 16. Line 27. And then it goes into page 17.
Okay.
I'm going to object calling for speculation.
I'm asking if it refreshes his recollection.
Okay. Yes.
Well, did he? The question was whether he gave that answer to the detectives who purportedly asked the exact same question.
And I'm saying
That's not what's reflected on the.
Here, can I set it back up again here?
Well,
Well,
we
have
can,
to
but
approach. We have to approach to make sure that this is a proper impeachment.
I'm asking to refresh his
he's going to
recollection.
ask the question again. Go ahead.
Okay, were you asked, do you know much about her house habits? For example, the bed was unmade, like blanket folded back. Would she get up in the morning? Would she have that kind of, personality? As soon as I get out of bed, I make the bed, And so it could have been unmade from the day before or something? Yeah. Did you respond? Yeah.
I did respond, yeah.
So it being unmade from the day before would have been a normal thing with her personality.
Well, that's misrepresents the statement, so it could have been unmade.
Right.
Can we play- can I
it
just
is
play-
as such. His answer is yes, it could have been based on her habits. Could have been.
That's
Is that
what we-
correct, sir?
Yes, I've seen her
Okay.
bed made and unmade.
All right. Very good.
Well, so having it be unmade from the day before would not have been out of the ordinary for her.
I didn't see her bedroom every time I was over, so I really don't know. But
So-
I've seen it made and unmade, I guess.
But that's the way you answered the question, is it
Yes,
not?
that's correct.
Okay,
Correct.
let's move on, if you would.
And you have seen her TV room.
Yes.
Showing publishing was previously marked as defense ZZ12. Is this her TV room?
Yes.
And around the time of February 14th, 2020, your wife at the time was making her curtains, right?
Correct.
Curtains for the TV room, right?
Yes.
Curtains that would go on a rod, right?
Yes.
And this is why you think that the curtain rods are like this, is because Miss Harwick was going to put up curtains around that time.
Objection, foundation, calling for speculation.
Sustained.
Was your wife at the time making her curtains?
But you
Yes.
said this is why you think. This is why you think that the.
Okay. Do you think that that's why the curtain rods were like that?
Single objection.
Okay, sustained. Would cause speculation. He doesn't know. It suffices to say his wife was making curtains. They were going to go on a rod. That's it. Can he say whether that is because the wife was making curtains? I don't think he has that ability, other than guessing.
Did the detectives ask you, as you go up those stairs, the bedroom on the left, then another room on the right, or did they ask you about the TV room in the interview?
Yes.
And did they ask you? Did they say, "I noticed there was curtain rods. There was some like decorative rope you tie curtains back with." Do you remember that question?
Yes.
And they asked, "Is that normal?" About the curtain rods. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but that's not the same question you posed, counsel. Let's get to the point with respect to the question you posed for him.
They asked you that they noticed that there are these curtain rods. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And they asked you, "Is it normal? Are those curtain rods normal?" Do you remember that?
I'm gonna
The
object.
rods or the ropes?
The rods.
Okay.
I mean, I don't remember them asking me if it was normal, but they were asking me about the rods.
And I'm going to object to counsel just reading a transcript and not asking a question.
All right.
So
he doesn't recall. Go ahead and show him the transcript back to
all right. Would it refresh your recollection, sir? This is page 17.
Okay. Where am I?
If you could please read from line 6 down to line 27, and look up on your time.
Okay.
Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
And they asked you
I'm
because
going to object to just reading the transcript.
Ask him the question. Is it correct?
the detectives asked you about the curtain rods that they noticed there, right?
Yes.
And isn't it correct that you told them that your wife was making the curtains,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that you thought that Miss Harwick was getting ready to put the curtains up.
I thought that, yes.
All right. Let's approach, if you would, please.
Just as far as that answer, I'm going to object as calling for speculation. So I think she's getting ready to put up curtains.
Okay, that's the way it stands. It's characterized as "I thought," so it'll stand as such. Is this on?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, Counsel.
Around the time of February 14th, 2020, Ms. Harwick had a cat.
Yes,
And now you are the owner of that cat, right?
correct.
On direct, Mr. Avila asked you about the gathering at your house following Ms. Harwick's passing.
Yes,
And part of what happened at that gathering was talking about how Ms. Harwick would want her story to be national news,
it did come up, yes.
and how the people at that gathering might roll out an appropriate tale of who she was before the press got it.
We wanted to express who she was, yes.
And you made a post on Instagram on the 1-year anniversary of her passing describing that event, right?
Probably, yes.
Can you guys all hear? You keep your voice up if you lean into the microphone, sir.
Sorry. Yes, probably.
And that was the exact language you used in your post talking about the event, that you wanted to roll out an appropriate story of who she was before the press got it, right?
Yes,
Michael Herman was your housemate before he lived with Amie,
yes,
and you've kept in touch with him since her passing, right?
yes.
You talked about the case with him.
We have not really talked about the case, to be honest.
You were the one that told him to call detectives about his memory of hearing the sound of what he thought was a plate breaking.
Yeah, right when it happened, around that time. And then we didn't talk after the initial period following the incident.
And you watched the footage of Mr. Herman's testimony that was on YouTube.
I did.
Did you watch any other parts of this case?
No, just his.
You've talked about Hernando Chavez about this case.
I have.
And Mr. Avila asked you whether you had sat for interviews with media, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you have sat for various interviews between TV shows and podcasts, right?
Yes.
And you've also connected other people with media sources.
I have.
Since her passing, you've been active on social media talking about the case.
I have been talking about her primarily, and dates about the case, but not a lot of detail of the case.
You followed Amie on Instagram, right?
Yes.
She had a couple different Instagram accounts, right?
Yes.
Her personal account was Amie Nicole 13.
Yes.
And your account is Robert Koshland.
Correct.
I have in my hand what I'd like to mark as offense next in
Triple I.
order. What's that?
Triple I.
Triple I.
Is it J? Are you still H? Did we already mark I?
I did not get marked. It was going to be the DVD, and then they went to a transcript instead.
Okay, so nothing was marked. Okay, so this is triple I.
It's 3 documents. The first appears to be... Yes, I'm giving you the copies right now. Here you go. The first appears to be a screenshot of a list of individuals that liked...
Hold on. Let him finish describing it.
Screenshot of a list of individuals that liked what appears to be an Instagram post from...
All right, let's approach. All right, Mr. Franzo.
Thank you. So I have in my hand what I previously marked as triple I-1 and what I'd like to mark as triple I-2. And I already described what triple I-1 is. It's a screenshot of various individuals that appear to have liked an Instagram post. And
The court stated that would not. That's not.
Oh,
that won't.
may I approach?
For first, ask him if he's familiar with her Instagram, and then if it recognizes it. then you can approach. Oh, you can do that now if you want to do that. Go ahead.
So I'm showing you III-2, what appears to be an Instagram post from Ms. Harwick's account.
Yes.
Do you recognize this?
Yes.
And is this a post that she posted on February 14th, 2019?
Yes.
And you liked this post?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to publish III-2.
Make sure the redactions, if there are any, to be made.
Yes.
Okay.
So
All right.
I'm not gonna show the comments.
Okay.
I'm just.
Well,
This is her.
no, the comments are
Just bring it down a little.
So that's her post.
Yeah, but bring it down a little.
No, but that's not
There you
her
go.
comment.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
Can I, Victor? So this is what she.
just show the photo.
Maybe you approach.
No. No more. No more. Come on. Let's move on.
Okay.
All right.
So, this is a picture that Ms. Harwick posted on February 14th, 2019, right?
Yes.
And you
To
recognize.
her
You
Instagram.
recognize.
I
it, you
recognize
said, right?
this. Yes. Hmm.
Okay. Go ahead.
And you liked it when she at some point after she posted it.
Yes.
And this appears to be her on the balcony off of her bedroom, right?
Yes.
Due in part to your concern about how her story was going to be told in the media, you were following the media coverage of the case very closely.
Yes.
And you wanted to see, kind of what you guys were talking about during your meeting, how the media was characterizing it.
Objection compound.
Overruled. You understand the question?
I do.
Okay.
May I elaborate?
Yes, you can answer.
The first media coverage came out from TMZ while we were still all together, and it actually had a number of inaccuracies that.
Right, but his question was, you were following it just to see how the story was developing.
There was no coverage until that happened, and then once it happened, we did follow, or I followed whatever coverage came out. Yes.
Right. And so you were following things that were kind of tabloidy, just like TMZ, as well as more traditional sources, right?
Yes, whatever came out.
And you read the February 2020 LA Times article, slain therapist Amie Harwick was strangled before fall from balcony, coroner says. Do you recall reading that?
I didn't read that article.
The 20th of February was the first time the media had reported on this allegation of strangulation, to your knowledge.
Hold on. To
your knowledge.
Okay.
Foundation and calling for hearsay based on his last statement.
Okay, well, are you referring to the same article that he's not
No.
familiar with? The different article.
I'm saying the media.
Okay, is that correct, or do you know?
I don't know what day that came out, but there was many media articles and stories.
On February 14th, 2020, to the best of your knowledge, the Google Nest cameras in Ms. Harwick's home were working.
Foundation.
Well, this is a stain.
Do you know whether on February 14th, 2020, the Nest system at her home was working?
I don't know on that day.
You testified at the preliminary hearing, right?
Yes.
And do you recall being asked, do you know whether on February 14th, 2020, the Nest system at her home was working?
What page?
139, lines 17 to 22. Do you recall being asked that?
I don't specifically recall.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at the transcript?
Yes.
Let me just...
This is improper impeachment.
Again, this approaching is getting out of hand.
I'm not impeaching, I'm asking...
I understand that, but if he answered to that question differently than he stated now, whether he doesn't know. He said he doesn't know whether we're working properly. If that shows differently, for example, he said affirmatively they were working. I agree. But if he says he didn't know or something to that effect, it's not coming in, counsel. That's not a refreshing recollection.
His answer was different, Your Honor.
Oh, let's take a look down here. What line?
It's 17.
Line 17.
Starting. Up the cameras in her house, right?
I recommended the cameras, but I did not set them up.
And to the best of your knowledge, when they were installed in the house, they were operational.
Foundation?
Well, I'll have a question.
Yes, she sent me some videos from them.
And from that, you were able to decipher that they were working?
Yeah, because there was video footage from the cameras,
Okay.
yes.
And there was audio as well.
Yes.
And when you met with the detectives on February 15th, you told them it was important to get the Nest camera footage.
Correct.
You told them to do it quickly.
Yes.
You wouldn't have told them that if you didn't think they weren't.
Objection.
You wouldn't have told them that if you didn't think they were working, right?
That's an answer.
Sustained.
The purpose of his
He asked that, but he assumed they were working. That's why you wanted the policeman to get a hold of them, right?
Correct. I
Okay.
see.
Yeah, that's
All right.
You used the password you found in the planner to log into her Gmail account, right?
Correct.
And you didn't tell the detectives about it and have them logged in. And have them log in.
No, the minute I found it, I did it.
Nothing further.
Any redirect?
Yes. So you have Dr. Amie Harwick's cat.
Correct.
Does that cat have a litter box?
He does.
Does he have a litter box?
Litter box, right? I mean, he goes. That's where he goes to urinate. Right?
He has two.
Oh, I
he
see.
has
what
two.
you're saying. I get it. I
I mean,
understand.
is it your? Well, I'm not going to.
No, I understand where you're going with this.
No.
Okay. All right.
I hope someone does.
Yes.
All right. That photo that defense counsel showed you of Dr. Amie Harwick, that's about a year before her death, correct?
Correct.
When counsel asked you questions about why you're conducting interviews with the media, why are you conducting interviews?
Objection, that question was not asked.
There was an objection, and I disallowed it.
No, he asked on recross. He objected to when I asked for it, but then he asked about it.
No, I
No,
didn't.
he didn't ask about it. He just said whether he was following the media and so forth, and he was conducting. Was he conducting interviews? And the answer was yes. But what was said or what have you?
Well, my question is, why is he doing it? To explain that.
Okay, and that came out, and I'll allow you to do that, and that is to get the story out, which they thought the characterization of the story should be, I guess, a positive one.
Well, counsel asked about other interviews beyond that first interview.
No, Your Honor, I asked.
Okay, is that objection? Go ahead.
So my question as to those other interviews that he's conducted after that first one, why is he doing it?
Objection relevance.
Overruled. You can answer.
You can answer it.
He didn't ask him what was said.
I'm not going to ask him what.
Okay,
I'm
why
asking-
was he conducting them?
Okay.
Okay, no.
You can answer that.
Okay, prior to the incident, I talked about Amie to everybody all the time while she was still alive. And then afterwards, I wanted to tell people about how awesome she was, which is what I did when she was alive. And the fact that the media were interested to hear that story, I felt like more people could know just what an amazing person she was.
Why did you watch Michael Herman's testimony from YouTube?
I have always wanted to talk to Michael, about what happened that night. I mean, I was with him the next morning, and we've been together a number of times, but like we both haven't been able to talk about it. And while I was very interested in what happened and his experience that night, it's just we haven't been able to talk about it in person, even though we've been together a number of times. So I kind of wanted to know what happened from his perspective, I guess.
I have nothing further.
You want to have any questions about the cat's litter box or anything, Counsel? No. Any questions, Mr. Pento? You may step down, sir. People, you're calling your last witness?
Yes.
Okay. Last witness are calling. All right. And who was that? Oh, there's no applause. There's no applause. Is somebody applauding? I thought I heard some. Okay. Who's the last witness?
It's Grace Stanley, but if I could read a stipulation that
All right.
we read before, but it's going to be marked as an exhibit. People's next in order.
Okay. You're going to be at the stip is going to be 139.
139.
Yes.
If I could just read it now.
Yes, go ahead.
It's been previously stated to the jury, but now it's in written form.
All right.
Stipulation: a restraining order naming Amie Harwick as the protected person was issued on April 12, 2012, ordering Gareth Pursehouse to stay 100 yards away from her home, job, and vehicle. The restraining order expired on April 11, 2015. It was not in effect at the time of the incident. So stipulated?
So stipulated pursuant to the court's ruling.
Yes, of course. All right.
People call Grace Stanley.
Ms. Stanley, if you could approach the witness stand, please. Raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give and the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Please state and spell both your first and last name.
Grace Stanley, Grace, Stanley, Stanley.
Mr. Avila.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Stanley, did you know Amie Harwick?
I did, yes.
May I have one moment?
Yes.
Looking at people's number 9, do you recognize the person in that photograph?
I do.
And who is that?
That's Amie.
And how did you know Amie Harwick?
She was one of my best friends.
And prior to her passing away in 2020, how long had you known her?
About 14 years.
How did you meet her?
We met through mutual friends.
How did you come to meet her?
Just through mutual friends. We were on a night out and someone said, "You'd really like this girl." I'd just moved here.
And did you?
Yeah. Yeah, we hit it off immediately.
And prior to her passing, let's say the year before her passing, about how often would you see her?
I would see her sometimes several times a week. She worked very close to my house.
How often would you communicate with her, either by calling her on the phone or text messaging?
Every day. Every day.
During the time you've known her, have you ever known her to smoke nicotine products?
Never. No.
Vape?
No.
Do you know the defendant here in court, Gareth Pursehouse?
Yes, I do.
And can you please point him out for the jury and describe what he's wearing today and where he's seated?
He's seated over there wearing a brown jacket and glasses.
All right, identify the defendant.
Did you know him to date your friend Amie Harwick?
Yes, I did.
And this witness has been admonished to the extent
Yes.
of the court. Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
And is it your understanding that they broke up sometime around 2012?
Yes, 2011, 2012, around there.
After that, did you ever see Amie Harwick with defendant Pursehouse after 2012?
No, I did not.
Sometime after January, now we're talking about 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Sometime in January 2020, did Amie Harwick express to you some concern for her safety?
Yes, she did.
Can you tell us how that came about?
She called me, I believe, January 17th, after she ran into Gareth at the XBiz Awards. And we spoke probably for about an hour, maybe a little longer.
Can you tell us what she said in regards to her concern for her safety during that conversation?
She was just scared. She's been avoiding him for a long time.
And let's just focus on the conversation. What she expressed about her fear during that conversation.
She was just scared that he was going to harm her in some way. She wanted to up security around her house.
Is that what she told you?
Yes.
Did you receive a text message from her on January 19th, 2020?
January 19th. Yes. Yes.
I have a document with 2 pages. What appears to be a text message. May this be marked people's next in order.
You're at 140.
140, A, B. Looking at page A. See at the very top of this text message says Amie?
Yes.
Okay, do you recognize this text message?
Yes, I do.
Is this something you received on your phone?
Yes.
And did you then provide a copy of a screenshot of this message to Los Angeles Police Department detectives?
I did.
And obviously, your version is not redacted, but if we could focus on this, did she text to you on January 19th, 2020 at around 10:43 a.m., I'm concerned about my safety right now with the Gareth situation?
Yes.
Looking at photograph B, she sent you another text on January 19th at about 12:51 p.m. Well, actually, sometime after 12:51 p.m.
Yes.
So the blue would be your text to her.
Yes, it was.
And then she responded with, I blocked him through text message, but because of his level of obsession, I definitely don't think I'm in the clear. I have pepper spray at the house now. My roommate's not alert. I'm upping my home security cameras.
Yes.
And you know that Amie Harwick passed away on February 15th, 2020.
Yes.
If you need to take a moment, there's some tissue right behind that screen in front of you.
Yes. Here. Yes, I do.
Prior to that, when was the last time you saw her?
I saw her around February 10th. I left for Europe on the 12th.
Where did you see her on February 10th?
We used to go to Joe's Cafe in West Hollywood.
And how would you describe her? Was she still concerned on February 10th, 2020 for her safety?
Yes, she never stopped being concerned after that run-in.
And she was concerned that for her safety in regards to Gareth Pursehouse?
Yes.
I have nothing further on.
Cross-examination, who's examining? All right.
Good afternoon.
It'll be very brief. When you first reached out to detectives, you sent them screenshots of your text exchange with Amie Harwick, is that right?
Yes, I did. And
you were directed to do that by Robert Koshland?
I had reached out to Robert to ask if there was anything I could do.
And then did he direct you to send screenshots to the detectives?
Yes, he just gave me an email address and said, reach out.
Okay, and so that was at his direction?
Objection argumentative.
Well, the answer was yes. She answered yes, it was in his direction. Is that correct? Did he advise you to send him to the police?
He didn't advise me.
Okay.
No, I asked if there was anything I could do.
Did you send an email to the LAPD indicating that Robert Koshland directed you to reach out and pass on a few screenshots?
That he had provided the email address. Yes. I don't remember exactly what the email said.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at it?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
So if you could just take a look at this and see if it refreshes your recollection, let me know when you're done.
Okay, yes.
Is your recollection refreshed?
Yes.
And did you indicate in this email that Robert Koshland directed you to reach out and pass on a few screenshots of conversations?
I did say that in the email. Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything?
That email was February 24th, 2020, approximately.
I do not recall.
May I approach? Would it help you take a look at the email and see the date when you sent the email?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Did you send that email to detectives on February 24th, 2020?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Anything based on that question?
No.
All right, ma'am, you may step down. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
People,
People rest subject to the admissibility of our exhibits.
okay, people rested. Let's see, counsel, let's bar people, please. This is what's going to happen is that counsel and I are going to discuss some issues. You're going to return tomorrow at 9:30. You're going to hear from some witnesses on behalf of the defense. Again, they have no burden, but they're going to call some witnesses. And what I advised you yesterday, the likely scenario is, a very good probability, is that next week you will get final summation from final argument from the attorneys, and then you start your deliberations. I read the instructions before the attorneys argue, and I'll read these instructions to you, and then the attorneys will get the chance to argue what the evidence, according to each attorney, believes has established in this case, and then you begin your deliberations, all right? So you're free to go. We'll see you tomorrow at 9:30. Be safe, if you will.